Now, we at India Today are trying relentlessly to bring you single image which is verified. Coming from the ground, there are so many videos that are on, but we are trying to put forth what precisely is the ground situation as Russia is waging a war on Ukraine. Make no mistake, these images will go down in history as the most defining. These are some of the top defining images I have for you. Number one is a proof of how civilians are being targeted. Horrifying visuals of the Russia-Ukraine war. The shocking explosion, take a look closely on your screen, caught on camera. Russian artillery hits the civilian on a cycle on the streets of Ukraine, Cherkasy. Ukraine has also claimed that Russia is targeting civilians, a claim that Russia is denying. After attack on Ukraine's port city, Odessa, I bring you this second image. Russian military strength on display on the streets of the port city. Military tanks on the streets roaming around in Odessa. This is the second big image, a tank, a military tank of Russia in the city in Ukraine. Number three, the aftermath. There, a devastating picture. What is left after the destruction? Heavy attacks early morning in the city. These are residential buildings in shambles now, burnt, dilapidated after repeated firing, people having rushed to safety, if at all they were possibly able to save their life. But what is Ukraine doing meanwhile? It is trying every trick up their sleeve possible to prevent the attack. They have even blown up a bridge near the capital city of Kyiv in order to prevent it from being used by the Russian army personnel. That is the bridge that has been broken by Ukraine itself to disrupt Russia. But remember, Russia military might is way too strong. And therefore, this image will now show you how the Russian military is now rolling its tanks at the iconic Chernobyl nuclear power plant that lies between Ukraine, Belarus border and the Ukrainian capital city, Kyiv. Ukraine president's office is now claiming this could be one of the most serious threats in Europe. Let's bring you image number 6. Amid these attacks across Ukraine, now it is the local residents fearing for their lives. Panic-stricken Ukrainians, women, children, infant babies rushing to shelter there in bomb shelters and bunkers. Our correspondent Maria Pyzarenko got us this first-hand account of families huddled inside a bunker in Ukraine. But our seventh image is from the capital city of Kyiv with the wreckage of an aircraft. The visuals prove this aircraft crashed into a residential building in Kyiv. To understand really the gravity of the situation of Ukraine-Russia crisis, take a look at these visuals on your screen. Now, remember, across there are anti-war protests that are breaking out. And this is not just in Russia. While this visual is from here, we can tell you there are protests breaking out in other cities as well across Russia. Look even now how the police is resorting to detaining them, taking them away. Remember, Vladimir Putin has said nobody needs to participate in these protests, that there will be legal consequences against people who participate in unsanctioned protest, the government had said. And yet, people are out supporting people in Ukraine and saying anti-war slogans. But there are people who have started to flee Ukraine as well. They are taking shelter in neighboring countries of Slovakia and Hungary. Hungary has extended, meanwhile, temporarily legal protection to Ukrainians who are fleeing the Russian invasion. But to understand the gravity, while these people are coming out on the ground, we see that it is eventually, remember, families and children who will be also now affected by this conflict. So let's go across now quickly to Rajesh Pawar. He is in Mariupol, where explosions were also heard. Now, Rajesh, you've been constantly updating us about ground situation, panic buying. But this is while Russia seems to be going on. There are protests that are breaking out in Russia against the government as well. I saw the Ukrainian president react to those protests in Russia. The fact that he's appealing to the people to come out in full force. and support them as much as they can. Do you think at all that is making any difference on the ground with the support that is pouring on? What is the situation on the ground and as politics brews outside?
Look, Pooja, it was very evident from the beginning that both the presidents, Zelensky and Putin, were targeting each other's populations for support, because basically these are same people, same ethnic roots, they're Slavic people, same culture, same history. Both the people fought together against Nazis not many years back. So both the presidents, be it Zelensky, be it Putin, were appealing to each other's populations for support. And that is one major reason that Russia is avoiding any kind of collateral damage to the civilians, to the public facilities, and they've been going for precision strikes on military targets and targets of some military value. With regards to these protests in Russia, there have been many protests yesterday in Moscow and other cities. I have got these reports only from TV and from friends who are living in Moscow. What my information suggests, these protests were by a very few people, handful of people. On TV, on the Russian TV, it looked like many people there, but there were a handful of people in all these cities. They were not very large protests as shown by some Western media. As far as small towns are concerned in Ukraine, and here people are in panic. They want to just go to safety. From my friends, what I get to hear in Kyiv, people are leaving Kyiv in large numbers. This is as far as the public reaction is concerned. With regards to military actions, there were action in Kherson yesterday, which was probably now under Russian control. This is a very important town, and this is somewhere in between Donbass in the north and Crimea in the south. Both of the regions which are held by Russia currently. So if they can link up from Kyiv, from Crimea, which is in south, and from Donbass in the north, they will have control.
Rajesh, do tell us about Mariupol. How is the situation there now? Because when I was speaking to you yesterday, we could hear explosions, we could see panic buying. Do we see tanks there in Mariupol right now? Are the streets deserted like they were yesterday as well, or are people trying to come out? What is the situation on the ground?
Streets are still deserted, shops are still closed, supermarkets are still closed, no cafe, nothing is open. And I visited a place which is 10 kilometers to the east of this place. It's called Brezhenia. And there was heavy firing yesterday by rockets, the Grad rocket, and I could see the remnants of the rockets. A car got burned down, some civilian buildings were also damaged. So there was heavy firing yesterday, and from a friend in military, what I get to hear is probably Mariupol will come and attack tonight.
And this, what you're telling us is a very strong claim, because even Ukrainian president is saying that Kyiv is likely to be under siege in the next 96 hours. And now you're telling me, if I heard you correct, Rajesh, that even Mariupol could be taken over in the next few hours.
These are the reports from, I have heard it from the horse's mouth, from an officer in the Ukrainian intelligence, is the one who sent me this message, be safe, Mariupol might be under attack soon.
Rajesh, do tell us, just about a few days ago, people didn't want to believe there could be an invasion or a war like this. People were trying to go on and about in Mariupol. Can you help us understand how Mariupol was just about a few days ago, and what does it look like, the comparison between the two Mariupols that we've had in just a matter of perhaps 3 to 4 days?
See, Pooja, this is an area in the east of Ukraine, which is part of Donbass region, of Donetsk province. Most of the people here are Russian-speaking, ethnic Russian people. This is a town which is built around 2 big steel factories. So people here first did not expect an invasion at all. They thought Russia will never do it. Second, they thought even if it happens, there'll be not much of damage in this town, since they are generally, people here are Russian supporters. So a few days back, till the strikes on the airport here yesterday, life was absolutely normal. Pubs were open, clubs were functional in the night, restaurants were open, and it was like any other normal city in this part of the world. But ever since yesterday morning, when the airport was bombed, things have totally changed here. Streets are totally deserted. Everything is closed. hardly any movement even in the city center. Pooja.
Absolutely heartbreaking to hear what you're telling us. But Rajesh, it's important because people outside Ukraine, people in India need to know how things have drastically changed, deteriorated actually in just 24 hours. Please stay on with me because in the capital city, Kyiv, early this morning, after a series of explosions on your screen, take a look at that. Take a look at the aftermath. Residents waking up to destruction of their home, their buildings, and that is now completely in ruins due to the Russian missile strike. Imagine trying to think that nothing is going to happen, all will be peaceful, it is just in the air, and suddenly the home you're in gets bombarded and you have to flee to the nearby bunker with women and children of the family. Now, with Russia launching this full-scale war actually on Ukraine, massive explosions and strikes are being heard, seen in the capital city, Kyiv, as Ukrainian forces are trying to battle the Russian invaders that are advancing hour after hour toward the main city. According to the Ukraine government minister, these attacks are being carried out either by cruise or ballistic missiles. Ukraine says that they have shot down a Russian aircraft over the capital city, Kyiv. But there are these series of missile strikes taking place at an area which has multiple high-rise buildings, which means there could be a possibility and a fear of casualties increasing. These are horrifying images that we are bringing to you from the ground. These are explosions taking place through the night, early morning, and also then showing the aftermath of the attack or what these buildings are left with. So the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has confirmed that capital Kyiv is under siege right now and that Russian forces have managed to enter into the capital city. Zelensky is warning that the Russian armed forces could seize the whole city within 96 hours, and that means there will be a new Iron Curtain down on Europe.
It's a big building of flats, right? And this is the ground floor, let's say, or the first floor. And there was a guy inside. It's a sleeping room, this one, with a balcony. And there was a guy sleeping inside when the rocket landed here. And he's fine, but in a shock. But it happened when he was asleep. A rocket landed on his balcony and destroyed like part of this. People are evacuating. You see, all these cars are waiting. People are taking their belongings. You know, see all these cars here are people coming and going and just taking all their clothes, taking all their belongings and escaping. I cannot even imagine what it feels like to be sleeping and you wake up and this happens at your home. When especially Russians are saying that they are only hitting military targets. And I don't think that this looks like a military target. This is a civilian residential area in eastern part of Kyiv.
There are citizens rushing to safety then. This is an exclusive report now coming in from inside a bomb shelter in Kyiv. My reporter on the ground, Maria Pizarenko, brought you this report of how families are in a huddle right now. Take a look.
I'm Maria Pizarenko reporting live from Kyiv, Ukraine, and now we are in bomb shelter beneath one of the residential houses in the city center, in the governmental quarters of Kyiv. The situation is the following. From 4 o'clock in the morning, there were attacks of Russian aircrafts on the civilians in Kyiv, and since then we here in the city center can hear a lot of far away sounds of explosions. The official reports say that this is Air Force defense systems are working, so don't be afraid, but please keep sitting in the bomb shells. So now I will give you a little tour, so to say excursion in this bomb shelter and show how everything is done here. So we can go further and see how people are doing here. So there are small mattresses on improvised chairs, also food put here, and people have been sitting here from 5 o'clock in the morning, right after these loud explosions have been heard in the city center. So not all of them really want to talk or show their faces, because the situation now is really tense, and everybody understands that the worst probably is yet to come, because the reports are very disturbing about the group of Russian military dressed as Ukrainian military trying to get into the city center. So the mood here is not really pleasant, and I won't show the faces of people, just I will show how the stuff is organized. So there are like shelves where we put, for example, our belongings or backpacks with food and some additional supplies that we need. We are lucky because this bomb shelter is one which is in pretty nice condition, so there is even kind of improvised fridge for food, and I guess it all goes from the times of Soviet Union, because there is some letters are also kind of like written in the font which was used in the Soviet Union. So this is the one room. People are sitting here and people are also sleeping. And here is another room. You can see again these filters for the air here, and the conditions are not great, but some people have been sleeping here for the night, because other people from Kyiv in Kyiv are using metro stations as bomb shelters, and some of them use bomb shelters if they really have these bunkers beneath their houses. So what else can I show you? The situation here is really pretty tense, because people are not only upset, but they are shocked by what is happening here in Kyiv. The understanding that the war is on is still not the case for many of us sitting here in the bomb shelter, and a lot of people understand that they're just, wasting their time because some person decided that Kyiv should be attacked, that Ukraine should be attacked. So from time to time we have the opportunity to leave the shelter, to stand outside, to breathe some air, for example, and also to listen to some situation in the air, so we can, standing here, hear the distant sounds of explosions going far behind. So, and people are coming here in the bomb shelter more and more during this morning. So it's now only 9 o'clock Kyiv time, and more and more people are really coming to stay here, to sit in the bomb shelter, and to spend this very worrying time. So you see, from time to time they come, they leave. We can hear the sound of air alarm going also from time to time, and people are leaving, then returning, then again leaving. So, and right now as we speak, you can hear the sounds of explosions. So that's the situation, and so you see people are talking now that everybody is alarmed, and the police outside the street is also alarmed about the situation with a group of Russians dressed as Ukrainian military. So the situation really doesn't get any better, and we are still advised to keep sitting here in this bomb shelter and waiting. The waiting is the only thing we can do now. So that's that for the report from the bomb shelter. I'm Maria Pasarenko reporting live from Kyiv about Russian invasion happening right now in the center of Europe.
Look, Pooja, right now Ukraine is under attack from all directions.
Yes.
From north, they have come down from Belarus, and yesterday we saw these images near Chernobyl, and from Chernobyl they have moved down south further. So this is an attack from the north. There's an attack from the west, from the Donbass region, from the east from Donbass, and also from south when they are moving up from Crimea. So currently, Ukraine is under attack by Russian forces from all three sides. But what is important to note here, which we can see very clearly, that how come Ukrainian defenses are falling so easily? I would like you to think about it, why they are falling so easily, like be it from north, be it from the east, be it from south. The Ukrainian defenses are falling or giving up without much fight, and I don't think they are giving the resistance they are capable of giving. So this points toward a very important thing, the appeal which Mr. Putin made for the Ukrainian people, that they must lay down their arms, they should not fight, they're the same people, their ancestors fought together against Nazis. So I think somewhere that appeal has made a difference, and there is some kind of sympathy in the Ukrainian military towards Russia as well. And this is an indication of the sympathy that defenses are falling so easily, and Russian army or special forces are able to operate so easily inside Ukraine right up to Kyiv. Pooja.
It's a very interesting perspective that you're giving, that yes, they do not have a strong military strength compared to Russia, but even that there is proving to be falling very soon. This appears to be an attack by Ukrainian long-range missile, what we are being told, on Russia's Milerovo airbase. This war refusing to end, Ukraine using all that it can possibly before its capital city, Kyiv, according to the Ukrainian president, is fully under siege, and he's giving it just about 90 hours from now. The latest visual that I can confirm to you that has been brought to us, and this is, again I repeat, on the Russian Milerovo airbase. So it is not that Ukraine is not trying to retaliate, it is using its long-range missile attack on Russia's Milerovo airbase. We want to just stay with these visuals, Rajesh, and I understand it's very difficult to actually gather information at this point, but when the president says we just have 90 hours before the capital city is under siege, I'm target number one, at least Ukraine has some military presence or some missiles, as we can see here, that they're trying to reflect that we will stand guard, because that's what even Zelensky is saying, that we'll do whatever it takes to defend our freedom, defend our land for as long as we can. But do you think this will have a lot of impact to Russia, which has a completely different level of military might?
Look, Pooja, Ukraine is no Syria or Libya. Ukraine is a powerful military country. It has a powerful military. But compared to Russia,
yes,
they are really do not stand in front of Russia. And let me remind you, Ukraine has a standing army of more than 200,000 soldiers, plus reservists, plus new conscriptions they are bringing in. So it's not a small army, it's a big army, well-armed army, and with billions of equipment coming from NATO and America, they are very well equipped now. But the point I'm trying to make is, despite all this, it is not just the machine or this equipment, it's the men behind these machines.
Absolutely, yes.
Despite of all this, they are falling like as if there is no resistance. All the Russians are just rolling in. I have not heard of pitched battles more than 2 hours, be it in Kherson, be it in Chernobyl, be it on the Belarusian or Ukrainian border, from nowhere. So this indicates towards something very serious, something that Zelensky is losing hold over the army, or somewhere the army does not believe that they can win against Russia. And that is the reason a lot of stories which may not be true are being floated by Ukrainian state media just to keep the morale up. Pooja.
That's interesting how within hours, one by one, the cities are just being taken over by the Russian troops and the army, the tanks being seen in different cities from the east to the west. And thank you, Rajesh, for now. But while we bring you this visual, according to Ukraine, this is it's a missile attack on Russia's Milerovo airbase. The fact is that much of Ukraine has now been started to be taken over by the Russian troops. Now remember, these are First on India Today, the only channel that's getting you verified ground zero information. And also, remember, on social media, on internet right now, there are all sorts of visuals and images that are going on. Some of these visuals and images are in fact from many years ago as well. So what we are ensuring is we are trying to put forth as much as possible at this hour to get you defining images, but also images that can be verified. So whether it is a member of parliament willing to share, it is a ground zero, our source, our journalists on the ground risking their life, getting you these visuals. This is again a defining image. Remember, there have been, as Ukraine is also claiming, that Russia is targeting their civilian areas as well. But for now, there are both sides trying to put forth their might at display. But Russian troops, importantly, have now taken control of the crucial Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Now, this plant, which we all remember for all the 1986 nuclear accident, is now surrounded officially by the Russian tanks. You have to understand the before and after to understand the gravity of situation there. The Ukrainian president says the takeover of Chernobyl will have repercussions for the whole of Europe. Take a look on one side of the Chernobyl plant and the premises area before. And now, Russian tanks there surrounding right there on the premises of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which basically means it has taken over one of the most significant areas, and even the president saying this could have repercussions for the whole of Europe. But Ukrainian armed forces are trying to battle the Russian invaders on three sides after Moscow mounted an assault by land, sea and air. As Ukraine confirms, the 1986 tragedy site Chernobyl plant has been captured by Russia, prompting tens of thousands of Ukrainians to flee their home already. Here's more of what's been happening on the ground in the country.
Ukrainian forces battled Russian invaders on three sides Thursday after Moscow launched the biggest attack on a European state since World War II, prompting tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. The Russian invasion came by land, sea, and air in a massive show of force. U.S. officials warned Russian forces were making advances on Ukraine's capital of Kyiv, and the Ukrainian prime minister said Russia had captured the former nuclear power plant at Chernobyl. Heavy fire was exchanged in the northeast and in the seaside city of Odessa in the south. The assault brought a calamitous end to weeks of fruitless diplomatic efforts by the West, with Russian President Vladimir Putin declaring war in a pre-dawn televised address. He said he had ordered a special military operation to protect people, including Russian citizens, subjected to, quote, genocide in Ukraine, an accusation the West calls baseless propaganda. U.S. President Joe Biden blasted Russia's aggression from the White House, calling it a war without cause.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.
Thursday began with missiles raining down on targets across Ukraine and reports of troops pouring across the borders from Russia and Belarus. President Volodymyr Zelensky called on Ukrainians to defend their country and said arms would be given to anyone prepared to fight.
What we have heard today are not just missile blasts, fighting, and the rumble of aircraft. This is the sound of a new Iron Curtain, which has come down and is closing Russia off from the civilized world.
The UN Refugee Agency said an estimated 100,000 Ukrainians had fled their homes. Some took shelter in train stations. Others tried to get out. The highway heading west out of Kyiv was choked with traffic across 5 lanes as residents fled, fearful of bombings while stuck in their car. Biden has ruled out sending U.S. troops to defend Ukraine, but Washington has reinforced its NATO allies in the region with extra troops and planes as countries across the West impose tough sanctions. Putin's endgame remains unclear. He said he did not plan a military occupation, only to disarm Ukraine and purge it of nationalists.
Meanwhile, India today has now accessed exclusive satellite images showing full extent of what is happening in Ukraine and even Russia right now. Take a look at this. This is a fresh verified satellite image we have for you. On your screens, this is the Kyiv airport that was attacked by Russia. Satellite images from Planet show a dark plume of smoke rising from the airbase, which is located just outside of Kharkiv in Ukraine, just meters away. That means from this airport is a civilian complex that also appears to have been hit according to these images. A fire brigade seen dousing the fire. Here's what Kyiv Air Base looked like on 21st February, just about few days ago. And that it is important to know what it looks like today. the difference between, take a look at these different images of the airport just about 21st February and today. New images are indicating Russia could be planning bigger offensive and airstrikes. Possibly troops and attack helicopter continue to move toward Ukraine. These are the Maxa images showing Russian attack choppers moving toward Ukraine from Tomarkovka military forces, and more than 50 heavy equipment transporters are at Bresky training area in Belarus. So Russia is launching an offensive that Ukraine absolutely did not expect, which means from all three sides. So it's not just one side that Russia decided to send in its troops, but these are satellite images from different locations.
We cannot independently authenticate them, but they've been put out by the Ukrainian government. This particular image from the city of Glukov in the north is suggested to be a missile attack on a Russian BMP infantry fighting vehicle. It's an armored vehicle, little smaller than a tank, that has been blasted to pieces. You can see its entire turret has fallen off. It's ablaze. There's a BTR infantry vehicle with wheels right next to it. Very dramatic. What Ukraine appears to be trying to do here is to depict that the fight back is happening, like you rightly said, Pooja. And this particular image is the latest in a series of images that have come out from Ukraine, suggested to be the Ukrainian fight back. Remember that at this time, there has been no outside intervention to help Ukraine. It has got a lot of missiles, a lot of weaponry from the outside. And like you also rightly pointed out, the Ukrainian defense forces are saying that this particular Russian vehicle has been destroyed using a US-supplied Javelin anti-tank guided missile. So very compelling images, a steady stream of images. The disclaimer always is, and has always been here on India Today, that there is a fog of war. There is a crossfire of misinformation, lots of claims and counterclaims, some very, very dramatic coming in from both sides, lots of denials coming in from both sides. So it's the onus is on us to actually sift between the two. So big claim here by Ukraine that they've been able to launch missile attacks on Russian military assets and managed to inflict some damage on the Russian side, not to mention the fact that they've taken at least 5 soldiers from the Russian military prisoner at this time.
And for our viewers, must know that from 5 p.m, Shiv Arur from the newsroom, Gaurav Sawant from the ground will get you many more defining images, as much as verified we possibly can, one such to help you understand the ground situation in Ukraine for now.